when you build relationships with the right people in senior living, you can build a business that comes directly to you that has no competition to speak of. And I look at people that do like direct mail and pay-per-click, and they spend tens of thousands of dollars a month only to get to now compete with everyone else in their market doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, right? You show up and there's 10 other investors there. You're like, man, I'm spending all this money and I have to compete with this. I maybe compete against a real estate agent, but it's never what I call a cattle call. It's not me versus 10 other investors. It's because that warm transfer of trust from that placement agent, that downsizing person, that elder care attorney comes right to Phillip, me, and I go out and make offers on. I'm literally in the house buying business. And I think we all got into this business thinking we were in the house buying business, but you realize very quickly you're actually in the marketing business, direct response. And then if you're not good at that, you're probably not going to get. You got to be good at a bunch of different things. And with this, you build relationships. They bring in the deals. You go buy houses.
Hey. Everybody, welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm your host, Dwan Twyford. I'm America's most sought after real estate investor, and we have a really great show for you today. I've got one of my wicked smart men, so you know it's going to be good. And our motto at Dwanderful is people before profits. So if that's something that resonates with you and you're like, hey, I kind of like that idea, then you're at the right place. I'm your girl, he's your guy, and we're going to have a good time today. And so just relax, have a good time, chill out, listen to us. If you go to Dwanderful, Dwanderful, Dwanderful.com and opt in, I have 4 free ebooks for you. So make sure you do that as well. All right, Phillip, how are you?
Good, Dwan. Thank you for having me on your show.
I'm so excited that you're here today. I want to hear all about your stuff.
I'm excited to share with you guys.
We're going to have a toast. We always have a toast just to like officially, like we're hanging out. So cheers to you.
Cheers to you. Good to meet you.
Cheers to you guys. And everybody, if you listen, take a deep breath and just like stretch it out. Shake off whatever you got going on so you can listen. You can have a good time with Phillip and myself. So it's nice to meet you and have you on here. I'm super excited to talk to you. So basically what we like you to do is, in a very short version, tell us who you are, how to reach you, and what you do. Then I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions to find out how you got here.
Yeah. So really quick, who I am, I'm Phillip Vincent. I've been in this business for 25 years, and I kind of did it backwards. I started off in development and got myself to where I am today, which is lead aggregation on a national scale in the senior living world. And we're going to talk about real estate today, but it's going to be real senior living focus. And I'm excited to share with you guys what that means. How to get a hold of me, be momshouse.com /Dwan, DWAN, momshouse.com /Dwan. And I look forward to your questions. I look forward, if you're listening right now, I'm going to share something with you guys. It's so stinking obvious. And it's something you can sink your teeth into for the next 15 to 20 years. I'm really excited to share with you what this is.
Well, that's a great, I love a nice, great, simple intros because I have a lot of questions I want to ask. And the thing I do love about this is that you are in the senior housing.
So yeah, let's be clear about it. I don't own senior housing. I'm not going to tell you guys to take a single family home and turn it into a residential assisted living community. There's other people that do that really well. That's not what we're talking about. But everyone that moves into that 10-bed community or 16-bed community or 160-bed community, the big boxes, all of those people have a house that they live in today, Dwan. And the moment that they need to sell it, the flashpoint of when that family needs to sell it is when they're moving from their forever home into that senior living community. And so Mom's House basically buys the trade-in. I finally came up with an analogy that I really like. The senior living industry is like a car dealership that doesn't buy the trade-in. So think what would happen to car dealerships if they stopped buying the trade today. People would still buy cars. It would just be a lot more painful, a lot slower process. And that's what senior living's been doing for the past 35 years. They spend millions of dollars a month to market to people to come see their communities, only then to get them in and then push them back out the door and say, now go find a real estate agent. And when you figure that out, come back and see us.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
My
Yeah.
dad is looking at moving in. His wife passed away last year. He's 85, so he's looking at a senior place. Like, oh, well, you gotta sell your house, do this, do that. I can't have all these assets. And I was like, oh,
That's it.
seems complicated.
It's super complicated. And Dwan, you're well, I don't know if you have siblings or not, but you're the adult child. I call you daughter Judy. You're helping dad who's
Yep,
85.
just me.
Okay, so it's all on you. So
All on me.
it's so much on the Dwans of the world. I call her daughter Judy's because dad needs to be ready to go and want to go. And for me and you, if I was your brother right now, I would say we need to talk to what's called a placement agent. A placement agent is like a real estate agent for the senior living world. They work for free for the families, and they give advice that you and I aren't trained on, like what are dad's ADLs or activities of daily living? What's dad's geographic, monetary, like all these things. They open it up and say, these 3 places, these 5 places is where dad should go because, I don't know where dad lives, but in St. Louis, there's 300 communities. How will I pick the right one? It's a very
my sister passed away about a decade ago. So my brother-in-law, niece, and nephew live in St. Louis. And so my brother-in-law's dad, Ernie, who's 91, just moved into senior housing. And I mean, it was like a year-long process of them trying to figure out what they were doing. Like nobody had any idea what to do. Right in St. Louis.
I wish they would have met me, right? And so
I wish I would have known you. I would have said, hey, call this guy. And like, yeah, it was a mess. It was just a mess.
Everybody says they feel like they're on an island during this process. They don't have a guide to turn to, and mom's house is that guide. And so more than just the house, we're called mom's house, but that's one slice of the pie, Dwan. They're dealing with 5, 6, 7, 10 other things that are just as important. Like, what do they do with the stuff? How are they going to pay for it? Do they get aid and attendance benefits? Do they get veterans benefits? Do they have their estate set up correctly? Are they working with a placement agent? There's a lot of things going on. And one of these things that was funny about the house is they say, I can't sell my dad's house or mom's house until I know where she's going. And then they say, but I can't know where she's going until I sell mom's house.
Exactly.
Because they don't know how much money they'll have to spend. And so when you go to senior living, the first thing they do is what's called discovery with you. Discovery just means, do you have money or not? That's what they're discovering.
Yeah.
And only 5% of the population can write a check every month for on average, it's about $6,000 a month. That's the blended level across all levels of care.
Yeah.
So only 5% can do that. The other 95%, Dwan, they have to sell an asset. What do you think that asset normally is that they have? It's mom's house. It's mom's house, right? And so that's where all this was born out of.
Well, I love that you do that because when my stepmom passed away a little over a year ago, and my dad was like, well, they're gonna have a big house and live way out in the country in Ohio, and he can't drive anymore because he's in his 80s and his vision's bad and just all the stuff. So we went around looking at some different places and talking to, and I just felt like, honestly, I felt like I was on another planet. Nobody was speaking English. Like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And it's been over a year. And we're like still trying to get it figured out because there's just a lot to it. Because you have her estate, you have his estate, you have the house, you have the rentals, you have da 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 da. And it's like, there's got to be somebody that does this.
You're talking to him right now.
And now it's you. So it's like, this is great.
And by the way, a wise man once told me we're all going to work in senior living, whether we want to or not. So we might as well embrace it. And you just told me 2 people, your own father and your own in-laws, that are going exactly through this. And you're the adult children of those seniors, right? You're exactly who I help, Dwan.
Yeah, and it's been a really big a big, shocking kind of a learning curve for me. But it's like, okay, well, I learned about it's great, and I feel like I've learned a lot, but it helps to know the right questions. It helps to understand, like, how to do all the stuff. So we'll just use my dad as an example. He's 85. He's looking to move. He doesn't want to live out in the country in a massive 2-story house by himself. So would I call you? Would you work in the whole country? How would I find a person like you? How would I find you?
Yeah, and so if you're going to find usually mom's house through, you said you took dad to a couple of different communities and you did a walkthrough. So that means you're probably in their CRM. And so we're now in the CRMs of most communities where that person that runs the community, the executive director, can push a button and push your information to us here at Mom's House. If you indicate, hey, we would love to have an offer on the house without having to do all the things that it takes to get it retail ready, we would love to have that easy button. That's when it comes to Mom's House.
And so you guys then buy the houses or the properties from the seniors.
Yep.
So that they can move and not have to worry about the house and the stuff and da 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 da.
Exactly right. And yeah, and the stuff is just as daunting, if not more than the house sometimes. Of what are we going to do with all that stuff?
My dad, I love him, but he and Lois, so I always called her my little mama. They've
Yeah.
lived in this house for 50 years. And I am telling you, when I stood there and looked around at like the things in the house, I was like, what on God's earth are we doing with all this stuff? This is 50 years worth of stuff. And I mean, there's just so, and I'm like, I said it's easier just as a joke. It's like, it's easier just to burn the house to the ground and just leave everything and buy new stuff and start over. It's like, what
Dwan,
the heck
you're
are we
more my
supposed to do
customer
with
than
all this?
you're so my customer. You're exactly my customer. And how far away do you live from Dad's house right now?
I live in Colorado. He lives in Ohio.
Okay, so think about
not a hop, skip, and a jump for me.
Well, it just, even if it's across St. Louis, I don't want to do it unless it's close, right? And so, let alone 4 or 5 states away. Let me give you a scary stat about stuff. Is that the average estate sale in St. Louis generates between $3,000 and $5,000 in revenue. That's what all of mom and dad's stuff sell for, between $3,000 and $5,000. That's the average. The cost to put that sale on is between $3,000 and $5,000.
So there's nothing.
And so you never want to tell anyone that their stuff is worth zero, because to them it's their heirlooms, it's their identity, right? And so a person like you that says, a daughter duty that says to me, hey, just burn this place down. You've already told me that the heirlooms left. And what's left after heirlooms, Dwan, is just stuff, right? And I hate to use the J word, because I mean, nobody's stuff is junk to them, but it's just stuff at some point. And once the heirlooms left, which was probably the first 15 minutes you were there, what's left is stuff. And it's really hard to get rid of stuff these days. Children today, when I say like kids in their 20s moving into their first apartment, they don't want dad's old furniture, even though it's probably built, even though it's built way better than the stuff from IKEA. They'd rather have the new stuff because it's trendy.
Oh, I know it.
You can't even give it away. And so you said something earlier about, you went in and it seemed like they were speaking a different language, and they're like, what level of care does dad need? It's like, well, how in the heck would you know that? Right? And so, does he need AL, ML, IL? Like, I don't.
This is exactly what happened. I was like, is there someone to help me with this? So, because they were all the stuff. Well, can he do this? Can he do that? I'm like,
yeah. Well, you said it first. If they got into my web, would I start with trying to buy the house? The answer is not in your case. I would actually literally start with placement agents that we have a network of nationwide.
Okay.
But I think for me is, you need to sell me in the house only once you know where my dad's going to move. Philip's not trained in knowing where dad needs to move. That's what a placement agent does. I refer you to a placement agent in Ohio. I could do that in 2 seconds. I'd find you a placement agent we know, like, and trust. You go talk to them. When you find the right community and they have vacancy or open, an open room, and you give me a date, now we can schedule the closing for the house to be, a few days before, a few days after, whatever you guys want, to make this as easy of a transition as possible on you, on your dad, on everyone involved.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because my dad is, it's funny because we just had just this conversation. He came to visit me in Colorado. He's like, well, what am I going to do with all my stuff? And I was like, well, do you want all of it? And they have some really nice things. I mean, they have a lot of antiques, a lot of really nice things, but a lot of it is just boxes upon boxes of pictures and stuff and souvenirs from traveling. And, you don't want to be cold about it and be like, well, I don't want any of it, because it is their stuff. But the other part of me is like, yeah, but you guys have so much of it.
Yeah.
So my dad's like, let's have a garage sale this summer. I'm like, I have to fly from Colorado to Ohio, organize an entire garage sale, all the stuff. I'm like, let's not have a garage sale.
So you can make $300 at the end of it after all that work, right?
Oh, that's what I was thinking. It's like, well, and you're right. It's like my stuff. Everything my husband and I have accumulated in 20 years, everything in the house means something to me. And my kids always joke, they're like, listen, if you guys ever die, we're just going to burn the house down, because we have a 6,000 square foot house. So
Yeah.
like, no way we're moving anything out of this house. We're just going to that's it. And I was like, thanks. Like, no. But because it's stuff that's important to us. But at some point, I told Dad, I said, listen, just move in and get all new furniture, get all new stuff, and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
let it
dad needs
go.
a clean break. He needs a clean break. The thing about your dad right now, I don't know him, but here's the thing. He's isolated out there by himself, but he's a
Yes.
man, so he's stubborn. He doesn't want to give up his house, just like
Yes.
I'm going to fight my kids too. But
Yeah.
here's the problem, and I'm just going to be blunt when I say this. In these cases for our parents, we're waiting for tragedy. We're waiting for that fall. It's always a fall, Dwan. It's always a fall. Dad fell again, and this one time now, and that's the thing about life. We'd rather react to something bad happening than get in front of it. And I guarantee your dad would be happier being around all those people. But it's one of those things that's messed up, Dwan, is that he won't realize that till 6 months after he moves.
Exactly.
And then he'll
Exactly.
say, I wish I would have, but you know how that is in life.
No, and yeah, you're right. My mom was living with us, and last year we had to move her. Well, she was so mad. I can't believe you moved me out. I'm like, Mom, you need medical attention. I live in the mountains at 9,000 feet. I've got 30 stairs at the top of my house. I can't, you need, and she was so mad. Just like, I can't believe you're being you mad. Just all the guilt trip that everybody hears. Now she's like, I love it here. I go out to movies. I go to dinner. I play trivia. I won the trivia contest. And now she's all excited. And I'm thinking, this is the same woman that a year ago was telling me I was like the devil daughter.
How did that feel? How did that feel when she was treating you like the devil daughter?
I just said, Mom, listen, I can only do what I can do. And so this is the best thing. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to talk to me again. But I promise you, when you get there, you'll like it. And only just like a month ago, well, I got to get back. I've got this, I've got that. And now she's like doing her lipstick and putting on her jewelry when she goes for lunch and all
Yeah.
the stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is the same woman that didn't talk to me for like a month. Ah,
That you're describing it. I always say that families that get along don't get along during this process is because
yeah.
it's so hard. And I always say to myself, I'm probably going to be the same exact way with my own children.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
somebody tell me, right? So I look at it from that perspective. I haven't gone through it yet with my own parents. They're still in their mid 60s. And so, but I know even with all my preparation, even being the guy it's still going to hurt, right? It's not going to be
Yeah, it does.
easier just because I'm the guy from mom's house, right? That is just, I'll know more than others, but and that's the thing about we have this certification, right? We're looking for people. This podcast today is about a fulfilling life, about having the right mindset. I like that about you, Dwan. Like, because I think people get wound up about the wrong things too much. Like we get tied up over vanity things. Like I want to buy 100 houses a year. Well, why do you really want to buy 100 houses a year? Are you saying it because you want to make a lot of money? Okay, great. Why do you need a lot of money? What are you trying to do? And when you boil it down, it's never about the money. It's about the freedom that money gives you to do the things you want to do.
Exactly.
And I would argue in our business with average profits being, let's just say $15,000 per contract, most people I ever talk to, their freedom number is between $10,000 and $20,000 a month. Almost everybody's freedom number I've ever seen is always between 10 and 20. And so if one real estate deal does 15 grand a month, simple math is if they can do one real estate deal a month, that's a part-time job, by the way. That's not a full-time job.
Yeah, it is.
That's 180 grand a year. And you get to go do it by networking and senior living, building relationships, helping people, being fulfilled. And I think working 5 hours a week is a bigger brag than somebody saying I work 90 hours a week.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm with you on that. All right. So
Good.
I am your perfect customer, and I find you. How do I actually find Mom's house?
.com, momshouse.com.
So I'm online, I'm looking for senior living, and then Mom's house will pop up and like, hey, we can help you do all the stuff.
I'll answer your question. No, that's probably not how Dwan finds Phillip in the real world. Dwan's finding Phillip because you went to senior living communities that were already tied into their CRMs.
Got it. So you've
And
already
so
got
if,
them in, and they say,
yeah,
hey, this guy Phillip will make this the easiest transition of your entire life. And then
that's
I'm like,
right.
at the end, I'm like, oh my God, I love you. You're the best person in the world.
Yep.
And my parents are speaking to me.
Yeah, we work with probably 30 companies nationwide that are huge in senior living nationwide. They trust us with their families because of our certification training. So
Nice.
I'm going to say this to everyone. This program is right for some of you guys that are listening. Not all, some.
I love it. I love it because, my uncle, his wife passed away a few years ago. Well, and because my sister passed, it was just the two of us, so everything's on me. And no one knew what to do with Herman. They're like, "Oh, well, you help." So here I am with my uncle, like 7, 8 years ago, trying to get this guy moved and situated, and his wife just passed away. And then one of my aunts, her husband passed away, and I'm like, "Why is everyone?" Well, you're in real estate. You should know how to do this. I'm like, "Oh my god!" So somehow I became like the family, get all the people situated, and then with my own mom. And now with my dad, it's like, I literally still am not really sure what I'm doing. It's like, okay, I've done 3 people already, and I still don't know what I'm doing.
It's a lot. And I think if we have a mission here at Mom's House, it's to shine a big bright light on this industry and to show people like you that there is help out there.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome because I'm going to have you get my dad hooked up. So,
Well, I mean, let's do it right now. You said Dad has rentals as well?
we got the rental. So we actually got I had everything into land trust, and we made a couple of the grandchildren beneficiaries who technically bought them and still let them have the rental income, and a bunch of stuff. So we got most of that kind of stuff straightened away.
Good.
But it's like all the communities, they seem kind of all the same to me. And it's like I don't know. And I tell my dad, I'm like, Lois passed away, so we're in April now. So like December, like a year and a half ago. And I'm like, Dad, you lived out there all winter. You lived out there this winter. Like, people have to come and get you to grocery shopping or the doctor. You're just out there by yourself. Like, you can't. So now he's like, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and move this spring. It's like, okay.
Okay.
So
That's
it's like
progress.
spring is here right now. And then I'm like, hey, oh, well, we're going to, but it's like that attached to his house. They built it.
Oh man. Yeah, definitely.
All the stuff, all the memories. Well, we built this, we built that, we painted this, we did that. So like I get it. My husband's the same way. If I died first and my husband had to move, you would have to pry his dead cold fingers out of the house. And me, I look at where my mom is at. I'm like, they have parties. They go out. They go line dancing. They go to jam. I'm like, shit, I would move over there in a
Yeah,
minute. They
totally.
do your
They play
laundry. They clean
cards.
your room. They do
Yeah.
everything. You don't have to do anything. I was like, I would move over there now.
I love what you just said. There's people in the industry that say in the world, people think senior living is where you go to die.
They
And they want
do.
to change it. They want to change it to senior living is where you to go to live out the best days of your life because you don't have the responsibilities that you used to have.
No,
So
you don't. It's funny. So my mom's 86. So at the place where she lives, a lot of people in there were in their 20s, like in the 60s. And it's in Colorado. So they're like smoking weed, they're having sex,
oh yeah,
they're
that's a
going
big part
on
of
a
it.
bus and going to a movie and a restaurant. And I'm like, I don't understand why anyone thinks this is a bad thing.
Well, we're changing that, right? It's not a bad thing. And by the way, there's studies out there right now. They're trying to show that for every month that you move away from isolation, it'll actually add a month onto your life. Like
I
that's
believe it.
because we need to be around other people. I think COVID, if anything good came out of COVID, is that it proved to us that we need to be around other humans.
Well, we really do. Yeah, COVID was really tough. I my husband and I were in Florida. We have a house in Florida, so we were in Florida, and my daughter was up there with my mom in the mountains. So they're there, we're there, other kids are over here, and we were all isolated for a really long time. Thank God somebody was with my mom because I don't even know how she would have done all that. But yeah, the isolation, I think it's bad too. So I already told my kids, I'm like, listen, when I get older and I start getting like, well, I don't know what's going on or just anything, y'all move me. I'll sign whatever you need to sign. I want to live over here where everybody's partying and going out and going line dancing and going to the movies. And I don't want to live all by myself in the middle of nowhere. So I'm
Exactly.
already like pre-programming my children, like, don't feel bad. Even if I'm all grouchy about it, just do it anyway.
That's right. It's good.
Oh my God, the people there, they're like crazy. It's like college for seniors where my mom
Yeah,
is.
I've heard it called that before, like a dorm room for seniors.
Yeah, it is. I'm like, I don't understand what she was mad about. She's having so much fun, but I get it. It's parting with your things and your stuff in your house, and you raised your kids there. And like I get all of that, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe because I'm in real estate and you're in it, we're just like, when it's time, it's time.
Yeah, we try not to fall in love with the bricks and sticks as much, but also we didn't build it like Dad did, so I get why he's got that way.
Yeah, no, I do too. And it's, yeah, I will, when we're done, we will talk about it. Okay,
Yep.
so now, tell me, so when you were younger, where did you grow up?
I'm from St. Louis, and I started building houses when I was 20 years old. So I started off in new construction development, and I worked my way into wholesaling. So I kind of did this business backwards, and it was because I started to get honest with myself about what I like to do and what I don't like to do. And
Uh-huh.
with new construction, you had 18-month timelines. You're dealing with municipalities in ways I didn't like. You're dealing with contractors, and really, I think I like to do new construction because I like to create. I'm a creative person, and I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
pick out
yeah,
the colors, and I'm like, there's got to be easier ways to scratch that itch than there is to be a home builder and do all these other, 90% of it I didn't like for the 10% I did. And
yeah,
so what I really like to do is be belly to belly with the seller. The every story has some similarities, but there's uniqueness to every human. I like to find the good in everyone I meet and learn about them and just get to know people and sit there and say, I like to always look at it as if I was their brother or their son. If
yeah,
I, and if I can sit on the same side of the table with them and have an open discussion about all the options, then you're never selling anyone anything. You're not pushing anyone to do anything. You're pulling them along a process that they're going down. And that's the thing about, this is a real estate podcast, guys. There's about 10 reasons why these are the best leads I've ever worked. And the number one reason is that they're motivated.
yes,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
have to
yeah,
convince them of motivation.
they
It's
are
built in.
motivated.
Yeah.
So when you were like 12, 13, like what was Philip doing back then?
Man, I've got sons that are 8 and 10. I'm starting to wonder when that bug's going to catch them, but I was always buying and selling things. My mom would bake
Really? Even when you were a
cookies.
teenager?
From kindergarten on. So like I had, not a paper route, but I had a grass mowing business, and I was always buying and selling things out of the newspaper. This was, before Craigslist and all those things. This
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
newspaper days. I would buy things and sell things in the same newspaper, just because I was always looking for a deal. So I've always been kind of a connector of people. That's what I like to do. I enjoy it, and and that's the cool thing about like with the senior living is like I get to give as many referrals as I remember. I said even with you, I would start not with me. I would start with a placement agent. I get to give favor coupons to people I work with, and
Yeah.
the reciprocity is a real thing. If you can give value to other people, they'll remember you a lot easier too. And so as a young boy, always been entrepreneurial, and always knew that I would connect people. That's what I've always been good at.
It's funny, this session, so you are my wicked smart man of the day, but I call this session Inside the Minds of Today's Millionaires. And so I've had my podcast, I think, for 5 years, and maybe about 2 years ago, I started interviewing and having guests and stuff like that. So I always like to ask people what they were doing when they were young, and every single person, 100% of them, including you, all were doing some sort of work or hustle or paper. Like everybody was already figuring out how to make money when they were like young preteens or teens. Every single one. So I'm like, I think it's something that, I mean, I've had like 100 guests at this point. I feel like it's something that entrepreneurs kind of had it already in there. They weren't just like, oh yeah, I was just going to the mall with my girlfriends. Like everybody had something happening.
I totally agree. I mean, I think you're lucky as the actions you take. Have you ever heard that? Where it's like the
Yeah.
more actions you take, the luckier you get. That saying. And it's because for entrepreneurs, I'm willing to get knocked down 8 times, but I'm going to get up 9 times. Right.
Uh-huh.
And it's, you're gonna lose, you're gonna fail. And that's the other thing about entrepreneurs too. I don't think we're afraid of failure like other people are.
Now you
Um,
have to have a higher risk factor to be an entrepreneur.
yeah. And I
Like
learn from my mistakes, right? So I try to always grow and be better. I try to never lose then, right? If I'm learning from my mistakes or I'm winning, that either way, then I'm growing.
yeah, when I first started out real estate, if I would make a mistake, I would kind of beat myself up. And then I heard someone say, "Your mess becomes your message," and like your mistakes, like your mistakes actually can kind of become your mentor because you're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that again." So I learned that, and so then I was like, you know what? It's okay if I fail or make a mistake because I'm learning too.
Agreed.
And I made a lot of bonehead mistakes in my early days. And it's been a minute since I've made like a really bad one. But even still today, I'll do something, I'll be like, why did I do that? So
They're
I
not
don't
writing history books about people who didn't take chances.
yeah, that's right. Well, you know what? If you don't take chances, I mean, I don't know. I don't understand people that and grew up, in Ohio, and I graduated high school in 1977. So at that time period, there was no go to college. It was like get married out of high school, go work at the car factory because Ohio was
Hey,
car and have kids. And I thought, okay, so I get out of high school, I get a job at a factory. And I remember like 2 weeks in, I thought, why on God's earth would someone want me to get a job at a factory and work my whole life for this person? It's hot, it's sweaty, it's terrible, it's miserable, I'm filthy dirty all the time. I thought, why would somebody want that from me? So I thought, okay, that's not happening. I'm going to cut that right now. It is not going to happen for me. But a lot of it is, you're taught what your parents teach you.
totally.
And I realized right away, it's like, no, I want to work for myself. I don't want to be at a factory. I don't want people telling me what to do. I want to work for myself. I'm just going to figure it out. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll find something and end up being real estate.
Yep, for me as well. I mean, real estate is one of those life-changing businesses, and there's 100 different ways to do it. So you have to pick your lane, right? If you're
Yes.
trying to be a jack of all trades, you probably won't be good at any of them.
Yes.
And you got to pick your niche, and there's not. You got to say, guys, it takes time and to build good, meaningful relationships. But I look at what I do. It's kind of like the difference between a one-night stand or a 50-year marriage. Those are both relationships. But one of them is one of them is 50 years long, and I'm teaching people how to build. I'm teaching them how to build that longer term thing.
I've had both, but the long
Yeah.
ones are more memorable. Oh, that's funny. Now, with what you do, is this a business other people could do your business, or are you more like, hey, bring me leads and I'll help you? And because it sounds like the mom's house is like your thing.
It's our thing nationally. So we have relationships nationwide, and we're looking for people that want to get that certification that we have. I'll offer that to people today. It's very affordable. It's a one-time fee. It's like $497. I mean, it's super cheap, but you can use it on your credentials. You can show the senior living world that you've taken this seriously. The reason why the industry works with us is because of this certification. If you show up as an investor, sometimes all they hear is dun
Yeah.
all they hear is shark, right? When you show up as an investor,
Yeah.
we love that word and we know what that word means, but to the senior living industry, they hear the word shark. And if you show up as just a real estate agent, that might even be worse, one, only because that's how they've been fixing this problem for the past 35, 40 years. And it's not really the right thing for the family at the moment. A lot of times the family doesn't want to clean the house out of 50 years of stuff. They don't want to update it. Like the real estate agent asks them to do the update so they can get top dollar. It's a lot.
I could get a certification.
Yeah.
And if someone calls off one of my postcards and they have like a probate situation.
Yep.
I could say, hey, I've got this great guy, Phillip. There's this mom's place. I'm certified over here. And I could work that lead somehow. How would I make money?
Yeah. And so in the certification, I'm going to teach you how to go out and do this and build these relationships. I don't make a penny from those relationships. Why would I give you guys my best kept secret that I've ever had? It's because the pie is that big. The numbers are staggering. 7 out of 10 Americans over the age of 65 are going to live in some sort of assisted care before they pass. And that's of 74. There's about 54 million right now. There'll almost be 72, 73 million by the year 2030. I've been doing this, guys, for 12 years now in senior living. I was just ahead of the curve. 2023 right now is when the oldest boomers are starting to enter senior living, and it will be.
I'm a boomer. I'm 64. So
Yeah,
I'm right there, and there's like, how many boomers? There's like 75 million of us, or 80 million or something.
But you're the young. 64 makes you one of the youngest boomers. So you're going to be the end of the cycle. But the oldest boomers, that 20-year run, 46 to 64, they're starting to go into senior living right now. And so there's 21 million boomers going to be moving into senior living over the next 20 years. 80% of them own a house, and 90% of those houses they own outright. They own, boomers and their parents own $10 trillion in real estate outright, guys. And so we always think about the transfer of wealth is going to come directly to us. It's not. It's going to go to our parents because they're going to live longer and the care is more expensive, and that house is going to get sold before. And so, but that tells you about the opportunity, guys. And I think anyone listening, if you're a real estate investor, literally think about the past 5 houses you've bought and tell me what their average age was. Very rarely.
My last house I closed on about a week ago, the guy was 84.
Perfect.
And the house before that were 2 brothers. They were 71 and 73.
Exactly.
And my
Exactly.
guy right now, I just got under contract, Charlie, he's 78.
People tell me all the time, I think I've been buying houses like this anyway. Now I'm putting a system around it. And the system, what I'm trying to do, guys, I look at sales as a conversation. We've all done direct mail, right? And I like direct mail, but you put direct mail out there and then you have to do it in some sort of repetition for it to work. The key to direct mail is never turning it off. You're waiting for them to raise their hand and say, now's the time to sell.
Yep.
And I've cut all that out. I've just waited for them to say, now's the time to sell, because now they're in the senior living web. That's the flashpoint of when they go, I need to sell this because I don't need the house now. I'm moving into this. They're going from one type of housing to the next.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we buy the trade-in for senior living. That's the easiest way to say it. We buy the trade. They sell housing. We want to buy housing. We buy the trade-in as a company on a national level. And so, yes, anyone listening can do this if you have the right heart condition, if you love people and love real estate, but you have to love people first. You can be a part of this.
Yeah, I told you in the beginning, my motto is people before profits, because I'm sure you know there are so many real estate investors that are they're just sharks. They don't only care about money, they don't care about people. And it's like, that's somebody's house. And in my case, they're usually losing it in foreclosure because of a death or a sickness or whatever. It's like, that's somebody's house. You just don't go, oh, here's $500 and how fast can you move out? Like, you got to treat people with dignity and respect, because that's their house.
Yeah. A lot of investors are too transactional, and we always say we're the hugs and kisses side of this business.
I
And
am
so
too.
if that's appealing to someone, then that's the right fit. If they're, and by the way, if you have empathy, that you can do really good. It's one of the few things I've seen in real estate where I think females are better cut out for what I do. Of course, I'm a guy and I've had success, so you can be a guy, but I'm saying only because of empathy. And guys, if you don't know if you have empathy or not, go home and ask your wife. She'll tell you. You know,
she will be like, hell no, you don't have empathy.
right.
It's
Right.
true though. It is true. And empathy, it is, because most of the people I'm buying from are losing their house. And it's like, I'm the hug and kiss. Oh, come on, bring it in. Let me help. But that's why I like the side of the business that I'm in, because I'm helping people and I feel good about what I do. And I'm not just like, okay, well, I can make this much money and like, how fast can we be done and get your ass out? Because it's still their house.
I'm gonna blow your mind too real quick about probate are my second favorite leads. I love probate leads, but they're my second favorite.
Yeah.
And let me just give you the fundamental difference. If me and you are brother and sister and dad passes away and there's a probate case and now it's our inheritance, me and you are going to fight for every dollar because what's in it for us is the money. Watch this. When somebody moves, if we were moving dad into senior living, we don't get that money. It's going to go into an account and it's going to get whittled away until it's gone. And so it's kind of like me and you don't care if we sell it for 86,000 or 89,000 or 91. It's not we're not getting it. And that fundamental difference with working in senior living is gigantic, because the person you're talking to just wants it over. Like you said earlier, just burn the house down. Well, you just want this over. You want to go back to your life. You want to go back to the ski and the sun, right? But you just want this over. And the thought of, doesn't make any sense to drive from Colorado to Ohio to do a garage sale. Of course not. Now, would you do it for your dad? Of course you would. Of course you would.
Of course I would.
But is that the highest and best use of our time? And let me give you a free piece of advice, anyone listening. If mom or dad has this piece of furniture or this thing, this possession that's like the most important thing, or it could be a few things, have a nice picture of it taken and have it framed, and they can take that with them wherever they go. They get to keep
Oh, you know what? That's a great idea.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's like a freaking thrasher in the yard or something like that. You can't bring the thrasher with you. You know what I mean? If he's got some acreage or it's something like that, it's like, let me get a nice framed black and white or something that, they get to keep the memories, guys.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I had a guy that, I don't know, somehow found me through my dad, and he did an aerial shot, because my dad lives on 5 acres in the country. He did an aerial shot of the yard and the barn, and I had it all framed. I was like, look, Dad, you can take this with you. Like, this is your house.
That's amazing.
He still loved the, like, you got to pry my dead fingers out. But that's a really good idea, because they could decorate their new place with the memories that are things that are important to them.
Exactly.
That's an excellent idea.
Thank you.
I've never thought, I did that for my dad, but not thinking like, oh, this is going to replace the house, but like, he'd have a picture from the air, which it looks really great. But that is a really good idea, because people are attached to things. And it's like, oh my gosh, I This was George Washington's water bottle I bought at an auction. I have to have it forever. Like
Exactly.
picture of it, and at the end of the day, that's a really good idea. That I feel like that would help people that are really attached to their stuff.
Yes. And I just want everybody to know that when you build relationships with the right people in senior living, you can build a business that comes directly to you, that has no competition to speak of. And I look at people that do like direct mail and pay-per-click, and they spend tens of thousands of dollars a month only to get to now compete with everyone else in their market doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, right? You show up and there's 10 other investors there. You're like, man, I'm spending all this money and I have to compete with this. I maybe compete against a real estate agent, but it's never what I call a cattle call. It's not me versus 10 other investors. It's because that warm transfer of trust from that placement agent, that downsizing person, that elder care attorney comes right to Phillip, me, and I go out and make offers on. I'm literally in the house buying business. And I think we all got into this business thinking we were in the house buying business, but you realize very quickly you're actually in the marketing business, direct response. And then if you're not good at that, you're probably not going to get. You got to be good at a bunch of different things. And with this, you build relationships. They bring in the deals. You go buy houses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My dad is, in Ohio. He's been there for like a million years. I said, look, you got like 20 of your friends. Why don't you guys all move in the same place?
There you go.
Around, play cards. Like you can like smoke your cigars. Like let's move everyone over to the same location. I always thought it's probably. My husband and I are like, it'd be really fun to have like a small assisted living where they play like music, like the Stones and the Beatles, and like because they play all that like old like now you need a place that's like a rock and roll place where like people from the 60s are in there and they're like smoking and listening to rock music, and that's it. They would revitalize just living in a place that's more exciting.
It's going to happen. Bespoke senior living is going to get very niche, to where you and 15 other people in one building will have those type of niches. And it's crazy right now, if you think about it, people that are 80s 40 years ago were in their 40s.
Yeah, I know.
So it's not, you know what I mean? The line's moving of what they're requiring, what they're into, what type of programming they want. It's not all I Love Lucy all the time, right? Or it's not Leave It to Beaver. We're moving past that now, and it's now the 70s and 80s, right? Those people are moving into. You got to think about what the time of their life was, right? And so now that's moving. When I started in this business, they were in the 50s and 60s. Now those people were in the 70s and 80s when they were in the prime of their life.
Yeah, that's why I tell Bill and I said we want to have like a rock and roll senior living with a few people that are like just we're hippies.
Yeah.
Now they're just like they want to be old hippies. I said they would live forever.
Have you heard of Margaritaville?
Yeah.
That sounds like your kind of place.
I know, that's so funny. I know it's just it is funny. Yeah, seniors are different now. I mean, shit, I'm 64. Like I'm straight up there, And it's like if I had to go someplace and live, I would want a place that had fun, had music, had some activities, not like bingo and crafting. It's like, oh my God, kill me. I don't want to craft. I want to like dance or something.
Just so you know, it is changing. So it will be, I know like pickleball is has a big future for a lot of people in senior living, like activities, right? They want, it's not their parents' rest homes anymore. Things are changing.
I know it is. So I figure whenever I get to the age, I told my kids, like, I'm not going to burden everyone. I'm not going to do the thing. I'm going to find a really fun, hip place, and I'm going to go because you get isolated. That's exactly what happens in the isolation. I see what it does to people, and it's devastating to just be isolated. I saw, like you said, during COVID, it's just devastating. People suffered from depression and suicides went up, and like it's hard on people to just be isolated.
Totally.
It's tough. So, all right. So let me ask you this. What's your favorite band of all time?
Favorite band? Like I have to pick one band?
Yes, just one.
I listen to a band called Modest Mouse more than I should. So I guess it's my favorite band. I listen to them nonstop. So.
Okay. You know what? How old are you?
45.
Okay. I do not know Modest Mouse, and hardly anyone ever gives me a band that I don't know because I'm a super huge music fan. So I will be listening to them today because
they probably have 10 studio albums over a 30-year career.
How do I not know Modest
Mouse? And so what I would do is just go to like I don't know if you have iTunes or whatever, just like listen to their hits, like and then they have a bunch of obviously B-sides and other things, but just see if you know any of those. That's probably the best way to.
No, I'm going to. There's only been like, well, you, and maybe like 3 other people named a band, and I was like, how do I not know? Because I really consider myself, I like all genres, all music. I mean, like from bluegrass to hip hop to like
Yeah.
all. And I like to think I'm pretty savvy. It's like, so when I hear one, I'm just like, how do I not know this? So
I'll give you
thank
a second
you,
one.
because I'm going
Do you
to have
know
a
a
new
band called
afternoon listening.
do you know a band called Alt J, ALT-J?
Yes.
I like Alt J as well, and I mean, I listen to them as a lot as well. So that was in my head. I was like, one of those two I listen to quite a bit. So
Nice. Fun, fun, fun. What's your favorite food?
it's got to be Mexican food, only because I could live on it. I mean, if I had it every day, I don't think I would complain.
You sound just like my husband. 100% of the time, we're gonna let's see. Let's go get Mexican. It's like, really?
Yeah, because it makes
Do
me
we have
happy every
anything
time.
else? No, Mexican. That's it.
It makes me happy every time, right? So yeah, it's like I love Mexican.
Oh, I do too, though. I really like authentic Mexican.
Yeah,
We went to a restaurant the other night after a real estate investor meeting, and it was like a real authentic, and they had like this homemade ceviche and this homemade mole sauce, and I was like,
nice.
Lord, this is like a slice of heaven right here.
That's awesome.
What is your favorite time of day?
My wife and I talk about that moment when the day is done, the kids are put to bed, and we have a very nice bed. I don't know if you guys have invested in a nice bed, but it's worth it. We both get in the bed together, and you lay back on the pillow, and you're like that deep sigh but it's an outward. That's the moment.
You know, it's so funny because you are the first person that answered that, and that is our favorite time of bed. We like to go to the room, like we have a big old fancy, like the head goes up, this goes up,
Yeah,
everything like that's so great. And,
yeah,
and like we look forward to the minute we can just lay down, put our head back, and just like take that sigh. And everybody always says the morning. And I was like, someday I'm gonna find someone that says the nighttime, and that's my soulmate right there.
yeah. Well, I
Nighttime.
get to spend. Usually, that means I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour with my wife. Right? That's my time with her. That's the start of that moment, and so I love
I
it.
love to hear you say that. You are literally the first one. Everyone else is like, oh, I'd get up 4 a.m. and work out. And it's like, why though? But like, why?
Yeah,
Why? The nighttime, you lay down, you get a chance to snuggle, watch a show,
yeah.
talk, and like this the noise and the chaos is over. So
That's right.
I don't understand how that's not everybody's favorite time. But maybe it depends on like who you're married to. Like we really just like we always look for like, oh, a couple more hours, and like we just get to like hang
Yeah,
out. That's our hangout
yeah.
time.
I like being around my wife, and you like being around your husband. So that I mean that maybe that's why other people don't say that. So who knows?
I know. It's like if I had to get up at 4:30 every day and work out, which I'm certainly I could, I'd be like, oh my God, my life is so terrible. Okay. So tell us one more time how to find you. So I want to make sure
Yeah.
you're in the show notes a bunch of times.
Yeah, here's what I'm trying to offer you guys. We've got this certification. You can become a senior transition specialist. I'm going to teach you exactly who to talk to, what to say to them, where to find them. You can build these relationships where these leads start coming to you on an ongoing basis. I call them oil wells. I truly don't know the lifetime value of my relationships yet, Dwan, because I'm still doing deals with them to this day. So
Nice.
I still don't know the lifetime value because I continue. I mean, I've got a deal right now from a guy I met in 2011. It's like build something sustainable, and this business gets a lot more exciting when you just the fundamental switch when you can start working with people that just want to work with you, meaning they're looking for you versus trying to make it up or trying to find needles in haystacks. I'm only working with people that need to sell. I'm going to teach you how to do that, and if you're the right fit, we're going to work on our leads nationwide together. We need a bigger boat. We have a lot of people that work with us, but we're not even close to being saturated. Not even close. There's guys, remember it's 74 million people we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes people tell me I want to be the only person in Utah to do this. And I'm like, that'd be like saying you're the only real estate agent in all of Utah. It'd be
Yeah.
ludicrous. Right?
No,
It's
there's
not cool.
millions of people.
And so guys, just go to momshouse.com/DWAN.
Yay.
That's how you get to know us. Want to offer you guys that just because it's you know,
Are you on
we're
social
really proud of
media?
what we do. Say it again.
Are you on social media?
I am.
And your mom's house, like Instagram, Facebook?
You know, let me see. I think it's Phillip_Vincent at Instagram. I try not to, you know how you get too many types of social medias going and when you
Oh
get caught in
yeah.
the vortex, I know they exist and they're out there and I'm on them, but just I don't know what my own handle is. I guess I should.
Now
Maybe.
I have my VA people do. Like, listen, I do
Yeah.
not have time to be Instagramming, TikToking, Facebooking, all this stuff. It's like, okay, that I'll do all the videos in the world that you want. I'll send them to you, and then you take care of it after that.
We're very similar. Yeah, I have all those accounts, but I don't run them. Yeah, it's all being created. So.
I love that about you. Okay, so one of the things I would like to do, first of all, I want to thank you for being on the show. And I really love what you do because you have educated me on something that I'm actually dealing with. And I'm like, oh, there's got to be an easier way. Like, there literally has to be an easier way. And I know there's a ton of people my age that still have their parents or in their 50s, and they still have their parents and they don't know what to do. So this is like, honestly, I've even been praying like, oh man, I just need I need to figure something out with my dad to get this guy rolling because he's out there in the middle of nowhere. So it's like, oh, mom's house. Okay, I am definitely on top of that.
Awesome. I would love to
So
help
I
you.
love that. And I really love it when I find out a new thing that I didn't know about. So I feel super excited that I met you today. And I appreciate you for sharing your heart and telling what you do. And honestly, what you do really is, it's a really much needed service, but I don't, because people like me trying to do it, we're lost. I don't know what I'm doing. I have to deal with all this stuff and I don't have anyone to turn to. Like, how do you help me deal with this? It's like a lot, So it's nice to know there's someone out there that you can turn to that's like, hey, here you go.
You said it best. It was like they were speaking a different language. I think you said.
Yes.
We help you decipher all of that.
Yes. Yeah. They're talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. I know the information pack is 100 pages long. It's like, oh my God, who's filling all this out? And apparently I am.
Yeah. It definitely falls on you.
Like, oh my God. I love it. Okay, so folks, so I'm Dwan Twyford. You can find me at Dwanderful, like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the stuff. Dwanderful. Go to dwanderful.com and opt in. And I've got some free ebooks for you. And also, I like to ask you guys to do me a favor. If you enjoyed the podcast today, if you learned anything, if you laughed, just anything at all, find the podcast, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and help us grow because we can't grow without you. Okay, so your last question.
Oh, I thought I was done.
I want you to give us a one word, a final word, but it has to only be one actual word.
Oh, just one word?
One word.
Fulfillment.
That's a good word.
Yeah, I think it's missing from our real estate world.
It is. That's a great word. You're the first one that's used that word. Yeah, people are always like, one word, am I not just one? Because otherwise, I've had people give me a 15-minute last thought. It's like, just tell me fulfillment. And what does fulfillment mean to you?
Fulfillment means to me that I'm excited about going and helping people every day. I'm just as happy on a Monday morning as I am on a Saturday night.
I love it.
Because my life, I like what I do. I get fulfillment out of helping other people. I get to see the weight come off of their shoulders, and that gives me fulfillment. In the end, I'm a guy that buys houses. That's what I do for a living. That's what I do, right? And we always think about the bricks and sticks, but there's humans that live there. So I really dive into the human that live there way more. The bricks and sticks is the easy part. Let's figure out what's going on with the human that's there and make that connection. And that's the fulfilling side for me.
I love your heart, Phillip. I love your heart. Love your heart. I'm so happy you're on today. Can't wait for this podcast to be out there. So again, thank you. And everyone, we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And remember that the truth is in the red letters. All right, everybody. Ciao. Phillip, thank you.
Thank you.